Now, often in the songwriting process, you might take a step back and realize there's still something missing, especially in the transition process of going from one section to the next. This could be going from verse to pre-chorus, or chorus to a bridge, or if you're doing dance music, maybe the breakdown to the drop. And so oftentimes that can be remedied with a simple transition effect. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple way that you can create transition effects using the stock plugins that come with your DAW. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Now here's a current project that I'm working on. And in this instance, I want a cool transition effect, maybe like a white noise sweep, to go from my pre-chorus over to the chorus section. So I'll just play it with no transition effect now, and then you get to see what I mean.
Move, do it through and through, and no more feeling used. I'll be done any minute, 'cause baby I got the love. Baby I got the love.
Okay, so we're going to create a transition effect, meaning effect that would somewhat tie in or just glue the transition. Just makes it a lot more smoother when going from one section of the song to the next. And so this section here I have highlighted, right? So let's go ahead by creating a blank MIDI track. Apple Shift T, and then now I have a MIDI track, and I'm going to go to my browser in the instrument section and just use the analog. Now, the analog is a basic stock instrument that comes with Ableton Live, and it's a 2 oscillating synth with a noise generator included. Now, if you're not using Ableton and you're following along, just recommend that you use any stock software synthesizer that comes with your DAW, just as long as it has a oscillator with the white noise option or a noise generator. You can also use this in Pro Tools with a signal generator as well. So let's go ahead and trigger this with our MIDI controller. So it's just triggering the analog, and right now we're just using both oscillators. So let's just turn those off by clicking oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, and let's turn on the noise oscillator, the noise generator. And once we trigger it, that depends on where the frequency spectrum is on the color knob here. So you see color. So it's just determining, what frequencies are you going to be hearing, or the noise generator is going to be creating. So warmer, darker, you turn it to the left. Brighter would be all the way to the right. Okay. So once we have, we'll just leave it here, and it sounds pretty good. Let's go over to the amp envelope, because this is where we get to shape and create the length, the actual slope, and the actual character of this transition effect. So once we have the amp envelope set up, let's go ahead and increase the release. We want this to actually play a little bit longer after we've triggered the device, and that's what the release does in any envelope. Once you let go of the key, it determines how long the signal continues to play for after you've let go of that key. So for instance, we trigger it. So it's a pretty good tail. Being that we want to do a nice long sweep, let's just increase the release a little bit more, and maybe just give it a little bit of a softer attack. Okay, so now we have a good little white noise tail there. What I'm going to go ahead and do is just simply trigger that in the arrangement. You could do this both in the arrangement window or the session view window. All we're doing is just simply recording that. You can also just write this in. So we can hit Shift Apple M, and that's going to create a blank MIDI region. And in here, we'll just go ahead and draw in the actual note. So we'll draw it in and put it for the length of that. There you go. So what we want to do is just have a shorter hit so that the release can actually do its thing. So we'll just do a short hit and then just let the empty space get dragged out by the release of the actual amp. Next, what we're going to do is simply resample this or record it, or have this as an audio format, right? Change it from MIDI being a note triggering the analog to an actual audio signal that we can manipulate and then later use down the road. So let's create another audio track underneath the analog. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the actual input settings. I'm going to go to the I/O so I can see that within my arrangement window. And in here where it says external input, instead of choosing an actual input, and there's many ways you can do this, and I'm sure you guys will let me know and give some feedback in the video in the comment section below, but I just simply use the resampling tool. And what that does is this allows me to record anything that I'm currently listening to within the session. So this could be one track, multiple tracks. It could be the whole song, for instance. If I wanted to sample the whole song itself, I could do that. So I'm putting resampling as my input signal. And then what I'm going to do is, let's label this. Let's get this sweep 1. That way when it does record it, it gets recorded with that name. And it's just easier for the file allocation. And then we hit the record enable button. And simply just go ahead and record while playing, while soloing the analog as well. That way, just the analog is the only source that's going to be recorded in this sweep track. And I'll wait till I hear the tail end just die off, and there we go. So now we have it in actual audio, and you can see it right there. So we have the very attack and initial hit of that sweep, and it probably trails off and ends right here. So the cool thing about having it in audio is now we can play this back, we can pitch this up, and also reverse it by just hitting the reverse button here under the sample menu. And now we can bring this back over here so that it just reverses and sweeps all the way up to the point of our chorus. So I might want to maybe make it a little bit shorter right here, and we're gonna fade. We're gonna do an instant fade. So holding down Option, Apple, and F will open up the fade for that region. And I'm just gonna do a nice little fade here so that it's a gradual volume. It's just a gradual momentum to that build. So let's listen to that. So cool. Now you can add some color to this. So we can go ahead and add some just a little bit of chorus onto the actual sweep, widen that up, and then we could use some of the delay and effects that I have on my return sends over here. So I'll put some delay and a little bit of reverb on that. So let's go ahead and listen to this in context.
You move, I do it through and through, and no more feeling used. I'll be done any minute, 'cause baby I got the love.
Okay, and then what we can also do is just duplicate this and reverse it again, so that it's just back down, and we have to take that fade off so that the attack can be placed right back there. Okay, and now I'm doing the fade in the opposite direction. So we have a build going up and then a nice little wash going down as well.
I'll be done any minute, 'cause baby I got the love.
You can also create some life and some more color and depth to the transition effects by just automating some of the frequency filter, and you can even add some modulation with the LFO, and this also gives another depth to it. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order for this to work, go back to that empty MIDI clip with a note, and let's just drag that for the whole duration of the build like this. And then going back to the analog, let's click the frequency filter. And you'll notice that the red line just moves up and down. And so let's go ahead and click this section and just start pretty low and build ourselves up. Maybe just a little exaggerated right there. Okay. And what's going to happen is the frequency has been automated now to sweep from a lower frequency to a higher one here. And let's just go ahead and listen to that. So that is, as opposed to without it, where it's just a plain sweep, this gives a nice little more depth to the actual sweep, and it can actually give a little bit more life and color. You can also just enable the LFO and command the LFO to modulate the frequency filter or the pitch itself. So let's go ahead and try doing it to the filter. Let's go into here and send a little bit of filter 1 to LFO 1. See what that does. So depending on the LFO rate, that will determine how fast that modulates. So if we went from the hertz to sync, we can modulate that to every 8th note or 16th note. So let's see what this sounds like here. So let's say if I wanted to modulate at a faster rate as it builds up, we can just automate that as well. So this is really cool to actually start giving some color and life to that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to just take the LFO automation off. And let's go back to the frequency and just set that back at 0. And let's first listen to what it sounds like in context with just the filter suite.
No more feeling used. I'll be done in a minute. 'Cause baby, I got the love.
And that's much better. With that nice character being created in there, now we can go ahead and record that as audio and reverse that and use that throughout the remainder of the track just to build that nice tension, and it hits that release once we get into the chorus nicely. And this is something you could do just using the analog synthesizer. And what I recommend you do is once you've recorded them as audio, go ahead, as you can see here, once you've got your effects, you can go ahead and drag that audio effect into your places so that you can always use them, especially in your user library. You can use them later on. So you're not having to recreate this process over and over again. You can just store this for other sessions. So I can click this effects track, drag it into my places, and then I can go ahead and always use that one track filled with the effects, and it's timestamped, which is cool because now it gives me an indication of where my chorus should be and my verses, especially if you're doing remixes or dance music. This is really cool because you get a skeleton as to where you should actually be mapping out your arrangement. So it actually becomes a really helpful tool in the long run as well. So now I can just go into this this file here and drag and drop that, and this will have all the effects that were placed on the arrangement window that I've recorded onto my new arrangement. Well, hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was helpful, and you could help me by letting me know in the comment section below what other stuff you'd like to see me do in future upcoming videos. And if you need help with some of your music production or just want that helpful guidance by somebody who's been doing this for a while, I'd be more than happy to do that. Just click the link below in the description box and I have tons of resources for you. As a matter of fact, I have a free gift for you for just watching this video. It's an Ableton Live set filled with loops, transition effects, instruments, and sounds that you could use right now in your projects today. So click the link below in the description box and that's yours free. Just give me your name and email address and I'll send that to your inbox right away. So thank you and looking forward to seeing you soon. Take care.